Imagine countless worlds before you. Fantasy and science fiction tales, heroes charging gallantly into battle, heedless of win or fail. Upon the ancient steps of glory, a battle for time must be won. Join the characters from every realm as they seek the words, "Well done." Audio Adventures Podcast by Joshua David Ling, full of epic poetry, sure to make your heart sing.
If you like listening to Rob Inglis read The Lord of the Rings, or Andrew Peterson read his Wingfeather Saga, you'll love Audio Adventures by Joshua David Ling. Visit joshuadavidling.com/audioadventures to listen.
Today on Poets at War, we talk with Chris Reyes about the Story to Screen podcast, about the future of creatives like us, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. This is Poets at War!
There we go. Now I can hear you too. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Hey, friend.
I am good. I am really, really good right now, actually. And
Good to hear it.
came prepared with my Witcher hat on.
Nice. So, basically, have you listened to Poets at War yet or no?
I listened to one episode. It was like the week that you told me about it, and I listened to one episode. It was really, really good, but I haven't listened to the rest of the episodes.
Okay, so I kind of just,
show, yeah.
Sort of jump in wherever I'm recording the whole time and, jump in wherever in post, So we can talk about stuff beforehand if you want. We can talk about stuff after. Or we can, figure things out as they go. No pressure. Just.
Well, I say we just like let it. We'll just have a random like conversations, and then you ask me the questions that you would typically ask your guests on the show.
Right,
so
exactly.
I'm here to relax this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you want to, let's make it. I mean, let's make this feel like it's a reunion between the two of us, because it's like, we haven't recorded anything since Story to Screen, actually. So
That's true.
Let's start from there.
Yeah.
No,
I did have Benjamin on very recently. His episode went out a little bit ago. He's the most current episode. I have another one in the tank, but that's not edited yet. And that's Ian Wilson again. He wanted to come on and talk about Christianity and the paranormal, so we talked about that.
Nice.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with how it turned out. It'll probably be on before your episode, just because I kind of like keep things semi-chronological in how I record.
Sure, no problem.
But yeah. So what's been up with you, man? Tell me about like your life and stuff. We haven't caught up in a little bit.
I know, it's just been. Are we rolling right now? Like, are we like?
I mean, I'm recording the entire thing, but it's like I'll take out anything that you don't want in there. Like, just say something. And I'll make a note.
No, let's make this a jumbo.
Yeah,
let's make this a jumbo episode. Let's make this. Let's talk.
Yeah.
No, back to your question again.
Go ahead. Yeah, like what's been up with you?
Man. Well, I have something happen to me that you know about. I am seeing someone right now, and it has been the three of the most happiest days of my life in the past 2 years. Like, I kid you not. It has been, I have never experienced such joy and happiness with someone for a very long time. And it is just, she's so witty and charming, and and yeah, I just thank God that that God brought her into my life, even though in this short amount of time that I've known her, and we've just hit it off so well, and we've gone out like 2 times already, and I'll just say that we're not officially like dating yet, but some things were said between us where it was like, I like her, you like me, and now it's kind of in that prayer phase right now. So, but outside of that, it's been great. I have never felt anything like this since forever. I mean, sorry if I rambled on there for too long,
cool.
but yeah, that's
cool,
kind of.
So what's been up with you've been working the Amazon job still? Is that what's going on?
I'm still doing that. Yeah, right now it's kind of that's been my pay the bills kind of gig right now, as well as doing like my Tulip single videos.
Mm-hmm.
And been doing that. This is really silly right here, and we just submitted our Thanksgiving video a few weeks ago. My boss, or my sister's boss, has not approved of the video yet. And we are approaching, we are 4 days away from Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So,
sometimes that's the way it ends up, when you're waiting on approval and stuff, and their life gets crazy and whatnot. Yeah, no, I'm right there.
Yeah, the problem is he's in the middle of like a big move, and there's like some secretive stuff there that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
So it's been hectic, but I just enjoy doing that because there was a period of time there where I wasn't doing as much audio related stuff, and I kind of went through a droughty period where just nothing was happening there. And then I got the gig at a very particular time. And the weird part about it was that my old computer had shut down. It just was not functioning. And then I got the offer and said, "Can you do a pilot? Can you do a test pilot?" And I'm like, "Okay, I can do something," but I had to churn out like $1,000 for a new hard drive, a gaming hard drive, which was fantastic. And in 4 weeks, I turned in the test video, and the boss loved it, and he was like, "You're hired." So what you see with the actual test video was the video that we used for the actual promo the introduction promo that we used for Tulip singles, actually. So, which is great.
Yep. I know how important it is, especially when you're working a, kind of run-of-the-mill 9 to 5, or even more than that kind of a job, how important it is to get, 1 or 2 clients and keep it going. And it's a hard transition to go full-time and everything. And that's something that took me a long time as well. And yeah, even though I'm not full-time with Yonder Child, I have a diversified income now. And so it's worked out well.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's slim sometimes and not others. And, that's the life of freelance, and it's not for everybody, but
no. Sure. No, that's what I'm expecting to when I get if and when, this my girlfriend, quote unquote girlfriend, and I get serious, we might be paying, will be doing a lot of like trying to get more awareness for freelance work as a photographer and videographer and all that stuff. And but that hustling aspect, I'm kind of excited about, and we'll see what happens there. There's a lot of lot of things right there. I'm kind of interested to see where it might go, actually. So,
Yeah.
But dude, this is like, okay, this is a bit of a mini reunion for us because we, in terms of the audio aspect, podcasting wise,
Yes.
because we have not recorded anything since Story to Screen abruptly ended.
I mean, it was coming for a little while, but yeah.
Yeah, but the weird part about that was the week we kind of the day that we abruptly ended was when Infinity War came out.
Oh yeah, it was.
So I think yes, and that episode was never published on the iTunes account. I think it was because we all faded away. Thanos did snap everyone away. So in some weird ways, yes, everything. Yeah. Yeah, so I know it's 5 years in the movie world, but I think we came back, everything was set to order after Endgame. So yeah, for those wondering what happened to Story to Screen, that's what happened there. That's what happened. We were all obliterated. By Thanos' snap.
And for those who don't know, Story to Screen, our old podcast that we kind of started together, it was your idea, and I kind of helped you with technical, and you grabbed some other people when I was not able to co-host, and it turned into this sort of, you were the anchor, and then you rotated some guests and stuff like that, and it turned out pretty fun, and we had a good time, and got to review some movies. We had a lot of different viewpoints kind of going into it, and that was kind of the hope that I had originally was, you're more into, especially back then, more into the filmmaking screen aspect of everything, and sort of into the ethos of filmmaking and stuff like that, and I was more just like, into the writing and the story, and that's still kind of my gig, but
yeah,
that's always been, kind of where we started. We were going to church together, and that was kind of how we met and brought our skills together. And you've moved to Florida a couple years ago now, right? You're still in Florida?
Yeah, it was like, when did I move to Florida? It was 2019. I think it was February 2019. Because I lived in Fairhope, Alabama, where we celebrated the 100th episode. Just to let you audience know, Story to Screen started in 2013, which is 2 years away. My gosh, that's crazy to think about. But we started in technically the first episode was recorded in my house in Cumming, Georgia. So it was basically born in the heart of Georgia, and then it ended in Fairhope, Alabama, with everyone scattered about though. But whatever, location, logistics, whatever. But
it wasn't just you. Ian Maffett moved to Chicago, or not Chicago, but Illinois. And then I shortly after it ended, moved to Augusta, Georgia, which isn't super far from where we started. It's about 2.5, 3 hours, but so that's, people have gotten married and moved away and all that other kind of stuff, and we moved on to other things, and now we're back here. So like what got you into all the what got you into doing Story to Screen and just generally like being creative and stuff?
Well, before I answer that question, because I wanted to bring up one last thing with you. Do you miss it? I know it's been a while since we did Story to Screen, but do you kind of miss it? And I want, and depending on your answer, I would like to answer this too, but I just want to kind of hear your your
I
answer
don't
to that
miss
question.
the technical aspects of doing this without Zoom or some other really basic software that will record and do the call.
Yes.
There was nothing like that at the time, and we had no ability to do video. It was all audio, and we were trying to sync that up across the internet 90% of the time, and it got crazy. That's the part I don't miss. But I did enjoy sitting around talking about movies. I always do, breaking down plot points and stuff and character development and whatnot. And I tended to be a little bit more forgiving of certain things than others. And I liked being able to plead the potential of a character or a case and say, yeah,
Sure.
they screwed up the execution. That was usually where I ended up standing.
Sure.
So
no. Yeah. And kind of to answer, I miss it. I miss it too. But also the same thing with you is the technical aspects as well. And I think I just miss the fact that I get to just talk a favorite subject of mine, and that was just movies. But I think there just came a time where it was like, okay, I needed to wrap this. I needed to kind of let it go. And I know we kind of let it go abruptly, but there were some things in my life at the time that I was dealing with that I'm like, I just don't have room for this anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't have room for this. And sadly, but humanly, it was just like I had to move on from it. But I will say that I am interested in doing more podcasting, and I'll just say there is a particular big Amazon show that's premiering next year, and it's based on one of my favorite films of all time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the 100th episode to find out what that is. And that is a possibility. I'm just saying, there's a possibility I might come back to the podcasting realm for a particular show that's premiering next year, which I'm kind of interested in doing. But anyway, back to your question about what made me start. What was the thing that inspired me to do story to screen? Well, it was the whammer of meeting you and just loving your vibe as a person. I loved your vibe, and I bowed down to you for that, by the way. So, and we just hit it off in a way where it was just like, oh, here's a brother in arms that just likes the stuff I like: movies, comic books, geeky, science fiction, fantasy, and who has, and I liked your intellectualism aspect to it. And you're like, okay, great, this could possibly work. And this could possibly work. but it was, I think it was also like, what were we, 2013. It was also like a history of just listening to so many great podcasts that I just really love, like Starkville's House of L, Batman on Film podcast, the Superman homepage podcast. There was like the Chris Hardwick podcast. I really love those interviews, actually.
Yeah, Nerdist.
The Nerdist.
Yeah.
It's become something else now due to that, the controversy that happened with him. Which I don't remember. It became something else, but I can't remember what it is now.
I don't remember either. Enjoy your burrito.
Yeah, yeah, so, enjoy your burrito. Everyone should. I wish I had a burrito.
Yeah.
That was his go home line, yes. But anyway, yeah, that, and I just loved, like, I also was a fan of, like, the Roger Ebert, Siskel and Ebert, movie reviews, and I love those so much, and I'm like, I want to do something like that, and then, but also kind of try to bring in a Christian element to it as well, and whether we succeeded or not is up for debate. I think we
I think whether or not, whether we succeeded or not, I think we is up to you, the audience, which was small, but I think we did the best that we could at the time. I think we did the best we could at the time, and it was, I think I still have a lot of fond memories, and I think I'm more shocked I think the one element that I'm shocked about is that the amount of guests from other outlets that we were able to get our hands on.
Yep.
That's the one thing I'm shocked by, actually.
And that was something that you never really set out or intended for. It just kind of happened. You were always looking for somebody to fill a slot, and you ended up finding all kinds of people and talking to some, movie industry people and all that sort of a thing. And that was really cool.
Yeah, the big one that I'm still shocked by, looking back on it now, I'm still shocked by. I'm not happy with the interview. I think I didn't do it as well as I could have, but I'm just proud of the fact that we got Chris McKay, the director of the Lego Batman movie. That's still like a big get, but I'm still like, how did that happen? Like, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
at how that transpired, actually. And then Rian Johnson too, by the way. Yes, I don't care what fan people have to say out there. Rian Johnson is an awesome dude. He's great. So prove me wrong.
There you go. But yeah, you started, you talked a little bit about how you started and what you wanted to do and how Story to Screen came about. Where do you see yourself like going forward in just, the what's the word, world of ideas and fiction and storytelling and narrative and all those sorts of things, and how your profession is, you're hoping your profession will increase, but also just what are you working on for skills, basically like what's the future for Chris Reyes as a poet at war?
What's my future? I don't know. I think it's because I hoped it would have been filmmaking, but for some who don't know, we were going to be shooting a movie called Tad: The American Dream. We shot a good chunk of it, but unfortunately money was an issue. That was supposed to be Story to Screen's first like real big foray into movie making, and it didn't happen. There was some behind the scenes problems that were happening. And it just didn't work out, unfortunately. But I don't know. It's I know I mentioned like I'm interested in doing maybe a Lord of the Rings kind of coverage podcast that's going to be covering the new Amazon show. But again, there's going to be so many other people out there probably doing that big time. So I'm kind of like, what can I lend differently to something like that? To be very honest with you, Josh, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I really don't know what's in the future for me in terms of that. I just know right now that I'm using my skills for God with the Tulip singles videos that I'm making right now on a monthly basis, which I'm enjoying. I'm getting amazing feedback from anybody, not just my boss, but also from from people from colleagues and from people who do watch the videos. I say, hey, this is something I can do. And they are like, wow, this is pretty amazing. And I take something back. I do take something back right now about where I see myself going. Well, I'm not a member yet, but I'm currently attending a wonderful Baptist church here in my area that has been very supportive. And I am heavily considering membership very soon. But anyway, they have seen some of my work, and they are possibly interested in me working for them in some capacity. What those capacities are, we don't know yet, but a lot of people have been very impressed with the work I've done, both as a photographer and as a videographer. and as a podcaster too. And a lot of people said, we need to think of a podcast for our church. I'm like, ooh, what could work in something like this? So I don't know if it would be more kind of like religious topics kind of a show, or if it would be more like dramatization kind of thing, which is what I'm kind of interested in doing. Like maybe we could do our own Adventures in Odyssey kind of show. You know what I mean? Something like that.
I'm actually a little further along that exact path with my church. We have one podcast being worked on currently that is an elder's pet project. It's not sponsored by the church specifically or anything like that, but he is working on creating calling it something like Voice of the Church. It's not out or anything, so you can't look it up, but he's working on getting things together and going around our region, interviewing pastors and learning more about them, just talking about them, not their church so much, just about the pastors themselves, their personal life, what led them to be a pastor, that sort of a thing. And so that's one that he's doing. That's been his idea, and that's going to be interesting. Also working with our pastor, and we've both been so busy we haven't been able to do a lot of follow-up, but we have a similar idea of essentially an Odyssey-ish kind of episode series that centers around an actual fictional church, and just the drama that goes on in a regular everyday kind of church in a small town. And so that's kind of an idea we're working on. Two examples of I say two examples. One is like a whole network of stuff, and then the other is an individual podcast, Apologia Radio. If you've never listened to it, you should listen to it. Very, very good. I have heard of it. Yeah, and then the other is everything put out by Fight Laugh Feast and Canon Press. They are top notch with their production and coming up with all kinds of different shows talking about everything from theology to politics to just everything you could possibly imagine. I mean, they have a baseball podcast. They have a whole lot of just great things, and they're all kind of out of Christchurch in Moscow, Idaho. But yeah, so you can check those guys out, but they've done a really good job. One of the guys there is a filmmaker and does his own podcast, and I wanted to especially recommend it to you, especially for just going forward and trying to be more of a freelancer and all that kind of stuff. He does a lot of mindset stuff, but not in the weird, like wacky new age kind of way you hear a lot of podcasts. He's very, very practical, and he's a hardcore Christian. His name is Doane. It's called the Doane Cast. It's spelled Doane.
That's cool.
The Doane Cast. And so he directed a lot of music videos for bands like Blink-182 and Shinedown, and he have gotten to a lot of Christian music in his early years when he wasn't a Christian. And you'll hear his story. He tells it several times, but basically he got interested in Christianity because he kept meeting a bunch of Christian bands and everything, became a Christian, and he's like hardcore, like in your face punk rock Christian type guy now. He's like 40 or 50 something, really, really cool guy, and he has a very no nonsense attitude about creation and filmmaking and all that other kind of stuff. So I'd highly recommend it to you, the Doane Cast. So
I will keep that in mind. I will definitely keep that in mind. Yes, maybe we can do a podcast together, something like that. That'd be kind of interesting. But
he does them with everybody, man. He's very just like open to anything and everything, just about. So really cool guy. Yeah. But those are some ideas for you. And yeah, I mean, that's one way that I think media is opening up in a really cool way. A lot of churches are who wouldn't have been interested in putting out media because of the whatever you want to call it, the nonsense that's gone on the last several years in the United States and elsewhere. A lot of churches are really, really opening up to the idea of putting out media and spreading it abroad, which the church has always done that, and I don't know why we stopped.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think it's been like a situation probably of money, talent, the right talent, not coming along, laziness. I think probably money.
Oh yeah, money's a big one.
Money's
but
a big
everything's
one.
so open now, you know, everything is so open as far as creation and just creating a podcast. All you have to do is jump on Anchor nowadays. You can do it for, you know, the old school way and make it even more uncancelable, so to speak. But like it's easy to just jump on anchor.fm these days, you know?
Yeah. I think another thing too is like, I think it also depends on like the kind of the churches. I think the churches that have, you know, more money and the bigger audience, like a bigger crowd of people, they have selections of media, like they have other outlets of their media, but I don't want to say it's just not expansive enough. Maybe I think that's kind of, it's just not expansive enough. It's, you know, I worked in Touch Ministries, you know, for about a year, and it was, you know, nothing wrong with what they did, but it was very, you know, very Charles Stanley focused, kind of like the ministry things, the ministry side of things.
Blinders on. They got their blinders on. It's very laser focused, and as opposed to going outward, which is one of the reasons I love the Christchurch guys in Moscow. They make a podcast about anything and everything because they believe scripturally the Bible has something to say about every area of life, you know, and they're very, very clear on that. It's not just our little Christianese culture in the ghetto over here. We really do have something to say to every area of life. And so might as well, you know, and whether it's the pastor or whether it's a layman or whether it's whoever, you know, they have them talk about their, you know, expertise, whatever it is. And that just drums up so many connections to you and your church that who knows how God's going to use that. The fact is you're making something, and that creates connections between people.
It does. And it depends on how it lands too, and how it also is perceived. But again, you know, sometimes you just have to take a risk and try something. And
I think all the time you have to.
Absolutely.
Like the fact is, you know, the church has been so obsessed with the idea of, and I think right in one way and way wrong in another way. Keep away from all evil. Don't see, don't touch, don't, you know, monkey see, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like don't hear, don't see, don't speak, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact is, it has neutered the message of the church when someone who is, you know, not a Christian or a baby Christian comes to the pastor and says, hey, should I be working on Sunday? Or, hey, should I be, you know, going to, and I'm not saying, you know, one way or another on any of these topics, but like they ask a practical question, and we're so pie in the sky with our theology. It's just, just spirit, and not, you know, living out the word, living out what is being said in scripture.
Yeah. I think you know, it's become. I think maybe in some ways it's become very narrow-minded, and I think I think a lot of people just become extremely stuck in that. I've been guilty of that in different ways, but I think you're right. I think it's just that I don't know if it's for one of those reasons, because of, like, you know, it could be because of like fear of like exploring, like getting to heavier topics, the fear of like of being more discreet but adult at the same time and mature.
But also just like the fear of being ill-equipped to handle whatever's given you, even though you know the answers are, I don't have a Bible right here in front of me on my desk, but like you know what I'm saying, like you have the answers right there. it's the fear that, like, and I don't have a Bible, but I'll you remember A Bug's Life?
Yes.
Okay. Remember, pretend it's a seed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Pretend this is a Bible, okay? It's a Trinity hymnal, but it's pretend it's a Bible, okay? Here we go. So people act and they're afraid that even though they have all the answers right here in the Bible, right? They don't they're afraid that they're ill-equipped. And I'm like, well, your answers are here. You can pause if you get a weird question or a weird, topic that you're not sure how to handle or whatever else. And you can go and you can do a little study. You know what I'm saying? You might not be able to do it live, but.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I guess the question is, like, where do you think we should go from here? Where do you think, what do you think, what are some new avenues that churches in that realm should they try going down a different route? Should they be going like podcasting?
I say everything.
Media route with what?
I say everything. There's no
limit
to what. Well, I'm saying as far as strategy goes, that depends on the individual church, and what the session is comfortable with doing. The elders, the deacons, whatever the case may be, as far as their polity goes. But my point is, like, whatever is the avenue for what they want to do. The fact is, everything's wide open now. This is wild west. You know what I'm saying? It's still wild west. The internet's been around a while. YouTube and things like YouTube and podcasting, these have been around a while, but the fact is people are just starting to wake up to it. And the fact is, if you're not putting something out, people are not finding you. It doesn't matter if it's fully wonderfully produced, and in fact, in some ways, it shouldn't be fully produced, depending on your target audience and your topic. Because, quite frankly, someone who's Gen Z is going to be, flipping through TikTok or whatever, and then they find a video that's like, fully produced. It looks cinematic. It's got great sound, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that's the man." That's the people who, that's not my people. That's people who have money and lots of money and dollars and stuff, and not me. And then they'll flip to something where they're like, "Hey guys, how's it going? I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to make a podcast." And that is going to be the thing that they learn how to podcast from, for example. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the person that they most identify with. And so it's a little different if you're going for an older crowd, but like, who's the crowd that we want back in the church at this point? We want everybody. We're not excluding anybody. But the fact is, the young people are the ones who have left the church. So, like,
well, let's be kind of honest. The old people are going to be like, "Hey, I don't know anything about this podcasting stuff."
And you do it anyway.
But see, the young generation, they're like the Valley Girl. They're going to be like, "Oh, that's a podcasting. Why should I do that? Where are the boys? Where are the drinking and all that stuff?"
Well, you never know when. And that's the other thing. Darren Doane, I'm stealing this straight from Darren Doane, but he says, how arrogant do you have to be to think that you can craft a social media campaign, a video campaign, a commercial that is actually going to do anything or convince anybody? The fact is, you have your best guess, but who's the one who actually brings the rain to the crops? It's God. It's not you.
It's true. No, absolutely. And that's another thing too. I think that a lot of podcasters, especially Christian podcasters too, and that's probably another reason why this is probably another reason why maybe Story to Screen may have failed a little bit on my part, not on anyone's part, but maybe on my part a little bit, was because I think in some ways I kind of lost focus of Christ in that, and I think people tend to lose Christ in the biblical, the pursuit of God, in these things, and I think that's why a lot of shows, a lot of shows probably fade and dwindle because they're not Christ-centric, because they kind of lose that steam. And there's a lot of other reasons too, but I think that's probably another reason why.
And the other thing is, like, with that, I do agree with you to a certain extent, but I think the issue wasn't so much that it wasn't Christ-centered as much as it lacked a coherent vision. Benjamin and I have talked about this a little bit too. Like, if we had flipped and just gone straight like movie review podcast and really leaned into our individual personalities and that sort of a thing and made it a more personality driven show, I think that would have honored God just as much, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we were really focused on that and just being more under the radar, so to speak, when it came to our Christianity, and not like hiding it, talking about it whenever it came up, but basically just like, we're a movie review show. Oh yeah, like when it comes to the scene where the girl takes off her clothes, yeah, we're not into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like, and I'm not saying that would be better. We could have gone harder, into the Christ-centered aspect too, and done just as well. I think. I don't think one is inherently better than the other, but the fact was we were missing a coherent vision and being pulled off in multiple directions, and I think that is what kind of, brought it down eventually, but I don't consider it a failure in any way, shape, or form. We absolutely did what we set out to do.
Yeah, I don't say it was probably a failure in terms of my part as being like the leader of the show. And it was also, maybe it was also we weren't growing in the ways that I hoped it could have. There were pushes. I was trying to make some big pushes, but again, the problem was also that the pushes I was trying to make. Sorry, I just got my phone just said, sorry, you got a text from from someone. But I think in some ways, I think we just, again, I just lost focus, and I think but I think I'm kind of glad that it happened the way that, not the way that it ended abruptly, but kind of like, I think I needed to work on myself, because I think I love how someone once put it, you can only be as good, you need to work on, if you want to be great at something, and it's something personal is holding you back from doing something better, you have to resolve that thing in your personal life in order to excel to the next level. And I think that's what happened to me. And I think, did you ever see that movie, that great Christian movie, I Can Only Imagine?
Yes, and there's a better version of it. It's called Ragamuffin. They stole a lot of stuff from Ragamuffin, but anyway.
I loved that movie, by the way. I think I Can Only Imagine. It was actually my favorite film of that year, which was shocking because that was the year of like Infinity War, Green Book,
all these blockbusters.
But there was something. A Quiet Place, the first Quiet Place movie, but Black Klansman and all that stuff. But it was just there was just something about that movie that, like, man, this really stood out from it was not just a great Christian movie, but it was just a great movie, period. But anyway, my point being, there's a moment where, a character is speaking to the lead actor, Bart, and he was telling him that in order for you to create great music, you have to work on the thing that is holding you back, and which in that case was his father. Right. The abusiveness that was going on there. Not that I'm saying I was being abused at that time or anything like that.
Well, neither was Bart technically in real life. They stole that. That was one element they actually specifically stole from Ragamuffin. It didn't happen in real life. But yeah, go ahead. But yeah, for the movie. No. Okay. He always had a great relationship with his dad.
Oh, okay. But yeah. But anyway, but yeah, it was so I think in a lot of ways, there was just that I was going through that period in my life where I was going through a lot of complex things. There were some relationships that I wanted to pursue weren't working, jobs that weren't working for me. And I felt so lost and confused. And I felt like my purpose in life was was gone. And I'm like, well, what am I now? What am I supposed to do? And, I'm still trying to find that answer. I'm still trying to find it. I know people are like, what? You're how old are you now? And all that stuff. And like, sometimes just people are. It
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I just said I just surrendered. The Bible commands us to surrender our burdens to God. And that was a burden for me. And that was such a burden on my heart and my soul, my relationship with me and God. And I just said, God, please take this burden away from me. Mm-hmm. Help me to find clarity in my life. And, slowly but surely it happened. It definitely did. I'm still trying to find, certain answers, mind you, but I feel like in some ways those barriers that were blocking me from probably exploring my creative potential have been slightly lifted, but there's still a journey. I'm still going through it. I'm still trying to navigate around the boulders, so to speak,
right,
before I can get to the end of the line, so to speak. But
oh yeah, definitely. And we all have that, little, even if it's little things, none of us have arrived, none of us will until we're in heaven. So it's not, growing up isn't like growing up is not a destination. Growing up is something that you do your entire life, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
true destination is not what's here on earth. The true destination is what awaits you in heaven. Actually, is speaking as a as a Christian,
in the new earth.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we tend to forget that. I think it's like, how do we? I think, and I think it's very important too. How do we make our time here on earth? What are we supposed to make of it? And we are supposed to bring God's word to other people, to non-believers as well.
Right.
And that's something I think I think I've, in some ways, I need to get better. I need to excel that a lot better. And I don't know what's ahead of me. There's something going on in my personal life where I've met this wonderful young woman who has just been who has been a light in my light, and also we've been able to share things biblically and all that stuff. And it's just been, maybe she can, maybe in some ways, because maybe she can help me in those areas that I need to improve in. I think if I'm going to be a future husband, I need to find ways to be a better leader, both as a Christian husband and such. But yeah, no, we'll have to wait and see. The journey is still going. There's still so much going on.
Yeah, and when the time comes to leap, that's the biggest thing I'm finding that matters more than anything else, quite frankly, at this point. And at this point in history especially, but also just it might be an all-time thing. I'm not even sure. But the fact is, if you're not jumping when you have the opportunity, if you're not being courageous when things present itself, even if you don't know the exact answer, you pick the best one in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being entirely, frozen. That just be my advice to you from knowing you for so long. Like, just like when it's time, jump, and if you fall, get back up again. Even if you thought it was the best option and you jump and it's not the best option and you fall flat on your face, that's okay, because God is still there.
Yeah, but the problem is I fell into a big pile of pig mud, and I'm still trying to wet up.
Grab a hose.
I'm still trying to get the dirt off my face, man. I still got a little bit right there. See on my little pinch right there.
There you go. Have you seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang anytime recently? Classic film.
I don't like that movie.
You don't like that film. Okay, well, regardless, let's just say
Here's the thing. Let me just make
yeah.
that movie is so silly.
Yes, it is supremely silly.
Okay, that movie is so childish. It is such. I'm sorry. It was. I think I saw it in my teens when I finally saw it, and I'm like, and I love Dick Van. I love Dick Van Dyke. I love him in Mary Poppins. I love him in what's that murder? Diagnosis Murder. I loved him on that show, and the Dick and also the Dick Van Dyke show. And he was. I would actually, and I would dare say he's the best thing in that movie. But that movie was just so silly. It is. I know. I understand what it was the time period that it was made. It was a children's movie.
Yeah.
And I get that. And artistically, it's a beautifully shot movie. Don't get me wrong. It is a very beautifully shot movie. But for my taste in like kids movies and all that stuff, it wasn't for me. And my sister and I were rolling our eyes during
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. You saw it when you were a teenager. It's way better when you're both either a little kid or an adult. It's one of those kind of things. So maybe it's worth a revisit at some point. But there's a lot of quiet moments in it that are surprisingly good. But the point
the ending in particular.
Yep. But I wanted to bring it up specifically because there's a moment in it. I don't know if you remember when the grandfather gets captured, right?
Yeah.
And he's taken to the castle, and there's a bunch of really old guys with beards. Do you remember this?
They're prisoners, right? Is that the scene?
Yes, they're prisoner professors, and so they're working on making another car fly because the Baron wants a car that flies, right?
Okay, yeah, I think so. I can't remember who he's replicating.
Yeah, so he brought in Professor Potts, the dad, not Dick Van Dyke. And there he's like, oh, I just don't know what we're gonna do. I'm not a professor. I don't know what we're gonna do. And all the other professors gather around him and they sing this wonderful Sherman Brothers song, unbelievably cheesy and ridiculous and over the top, like most Sherman Brothers songs are. And it's kind of what I'm getting at with you talking about falling into pig mud and all that other good stuff. It says, and I won't read the whole thing, but basically he said they say every bursted bubble has a glory. Each abysmal failure makes a point. Every glowing path that goes astray shows you how to find a better way. So every time you stumble, never grumble. Next time you'll bumble even less. Up from the ashes, grow the roses of success. And it's that Edisonian, kind of mantra about like, Edison said, I found 99 ways not to make a light bulb, So
it's funny. I was going to bring that up, and I'm like, oh, we've heard that story many times, but it's like, I instantly thought of Edison when he was trying to make the light bulb. He went through like thousands of materials to make the light bulb work. And I just thought about that instantly. But it's funny too, when you look back on a movie like that, even though it doesn't work for you, there's still an undeniable amount of richness to that movie. That, like you just mentioned, like here, I don't remember the song, I don't remember that part, but I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, there is undeniable richness and themes that it's trying to profound things that it's trying to get across, and good for it. That's and I think maybe in some ways that's stuff like that, and maybe even a movie like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, that, because I kind of, in some weird ways, that was another one I saw where I was kind of like, this isn't in my late teens. I know you love that movie, and for me, it's like, what am I missing? I mean, that movie is like beautifully shot as well, and it's Gene Wilder is so fantastic in that role, but it was just like, what am I missing? But at the same time, it's still they're both in some ways kind of equal in what I was just saying. They have a richness and tapestry to them that you don't see at the time because maybe you're just overwhelmed by the silliness of it all.
Yeah.
But you come back to it later and hear the commentaries from other men like, oh no, there is so much more there that as an adult, it's like, now I see the appeal of that.
Exactly,
now I get it.
Yeah. So I just, encouraging a brother that I know has needed encouragement for a while. I'll throw out one more set of lines from this, and then we can wrap up the actual, the podcast portion. But we could still talk for a few. That's not a problem. I have no problem doing that.
I've got more to talk about.
I know you do. I know you do. So here's what we got here. And this is not just for Chris. This is for everybody listening. Let's see. From the ash. Okay, let's see. For every big mistake you make, be grateful. That mistake you'll never make again. Every shiny dream that fades and dies generates the steam for 2 more tries. There's magic in the wake of a fiasco. It gives you that chance to second guess. Then up from the ashes, grow the roses of success. This has been Poets at War. Remember, be your family's bard. And follow God. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and he will be with you wherever you go. Be poets, be at war, and be fighting for the glory of God.
God of song, said the warrior bard, though all the world betray thee, one sword at least I right shall guard, one faithful harp shall pray.